Yo, what's up, all you burner stoners and potheads, and especially all you gardeners out there? This is Mr. Weedman and Big Earl with the Weedman 420 Chronicles Grow Hour. How are all you vipers doing out there? We have two special guests on, don't we, Big Earl?
We do. It's going to be a fun episode.
I'd like to introduce you all out there to Nick and Jared from Magick Beans and Green Fin. What's up, fellas? How you doing?
Hello.
Excellent. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. We're super stoked to have you on the show because we're going into part 2 of our nutrients edition. Big Earl and I released a show last week on nutrients, and it was one of my favorite shows only because it's my biggest weakness is nutrients. It is one of my hardest subjects, and it was a big laugh that we talked about a lot of things on that show. But before we when we were really into it, this is a funny story. And when I was early newbie growing, Big Earl and I became friends, and I was like, dude, he was telling me about pH, and I'm like, oh, how do I? He goes, buy this system and test your pH. I'm like, okay. He goes, test your soil. I'm like, all right, cool. So I bought this system. It's just the little, like, you test your pH in your water system and stuff like that, but I didn't know it. So I was sticking the fucking shit in the soil, like. And I'm DMing him going, this ain't working. He goes, dude, it's for your water, not yours. You don't stick it directly in the soil. You test your water out, you dumbass. So that's how newbie-ish I was when it came to nutrients and a lot of the early stages. And
are you just talking about like a pH pen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little Hannah pen.
You had the right probing techniques, just the wrong tool.
I was probing all right.
Yeah, that was good action. Don't worry about it.
So I didn't know what the fuck I was doing with that thing. I mean, I remember the little pH. I had the little pH thing you shake up and you put the little, that's what I was using. But he's like, oh, that's even better, more accurate. So I didn't know you had to put it just straight in your water, test your water out. I thought you had to put it right in the fucking soil. It says. So I needed help with this, with nutrients especially. So I'm super stoked to have you on. I'm super stoked. We got a ton of good info we're going to get from you both for all of our listeners out there, especially all of our newbie growers and also some of our veteran growers that listen to the show. So we're super stoked. But before we get started, we're going to smoke. And I'm going to go first. I'm smoking a strain that was grown by Big Earl. As you all know, I love his stuff, so I smoke a lot of his stuff. So I'm smoking tropical cookies. And I'm going to light my 8 Decades bowl up while Big Earl tells you a little bit about it and then tells you what he's smoking. Salute.
Awesome.
Yeah, I forget the name he gave it. It's a Trop Cookies Crossed to Sprinkles from Secret Society Seed Co. He just came out with that line. I was able to test it for him, luckily. Super terpy plant, man. Such one of the terpiest plants probably in the garden right now. But what was that?
I wish I could smell it. It's one of my favorite strands, man. I mean, that thing's awesome. I mean, Trop Cookies is what we're smoking too.
Nice. Yeah. It's super different. I never really smoked it before, and I'm assuming it's Trop Cookies leaning because I worked with a lot of the sprinkle stuff and Skittles cross stuff where the sprinkles comes from. And it doesn't have a lot of that flavor in there. It's like it has to be straight Trop Cookies because it's so different on its terps than all the other stuff in that line. But you guys smoking anything other than Trop Cookies?
Yeah. So what else we got? We got
Frank's Gift. I brought some
Crowley's Gift is Frank's Gift Cross the Star Killer. Frank's Gift is, like, in my opinion, probably one of the most medicinal plants that's ever been. It's like 26% CBD and like 7% THC, and the cross is, or the cut, I should say, is not. It's so hard to find. I lost mom like 4 or 5 years ago, but luckily I still have a lot of these seeds left. And we're finding like 3-to-1s, 1-to-1s. But like the ranges are, you're going to find 25-to-1s. And it's nice because you're not going to necessarily get some of the CBD flavor terpene profiles really.
That cherry smell.
Yeah, the cherry. Like we're finding phenos that are gassy, so we're getting gassy CBD strains now, and I know they already exist and, you know, they've been out there, but this specifically, this cross is pretty special.
And for me too, besides that, a lot of my patients are older. Let's just say that, you know, my parents' age, their friends, and they appreciate something that isn't as high in THC, that has a more robust profile. And so, you know, what's awesome with Nick is he's bringing some, you know, land race and some really cool, interesting genetics into the pool that, you know, people are open to smoking now that they have a higher intelligence of what's out there. And so, you know, growing this stuff's been an honor, but, you know, it's coming from him. I just have a great little growing setup in my basement. So
he's running a lot of my gear.
Yeah,
so
like, you know, I've been blessed to have him as my little mentor and sensei, and this whole, like, I mean, it's a lot to learn, you know, and it's never something I ever expect to totally understand, but, you know, by what I like to smoke and taste has driven me towards, you know, definitely, you know, your genetics. The Dogma is one of my favorite. Is some of his cuts that are just phenomenal, super terpy, very gassy. I mean, that's kind of like, I'm a diesel gas guy, so I will always pick that.
Yeah.
You know what's good that you're growing for the older generation is because I was just reading an article that the California boomers and older generation are smoking cannabis a lot more than they ever have before, and they don't realize a lot of them are ending up in the hospital, unfortunately, because they're freaking out because their strains are so strong and they don't realize it. No one's teaching them that. So a lot of them are ending. I think it's up like 895% hospital visits in California, the older generation right now, the retirees and stuff like that, because they don't realize it's not their cannabis they were burning in the 50s and 60s, in the early 70s when it was like 3, 4, 5% THC. You know, they're probably just going to the dispensary, grabbing whatever the bud tender gives them. It could be 28-30%. Next thing you know, they smoke the whole thing, and next thing you know, they're crying to their wife or husband going, I'm gonna die. No, you're not gonna die, but you over smoked. So it's nice that you
experience, you know what I mean? You want like a very good experience, you know?
Yeah, and it's nice that you're giving them that higher CBD to get their endocannabinoid system used to smoking cannabis, and then maybe they'll switch and go do that maybe 1 to 2 ratio instead, where it's a little more higher THC and more of a balance, and they want more of that psychoactive effect, or they want more of that THC effect. So it's good that you're training their endocannabinoid system with a higher CBD strain. I like smoking CBD. Got a couple people that give me some strains. I like smoking it that nice ratio, that 2 to 1 or 1 to 1 ratio, especially during the day. I don't like getting too heady during the day, but I
was just going to say it's like a routine thing, right? Like you don't want to wake up and get foggy, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you want to have a healthy balance, and it's really about a balance. And when you have a portfolio of genetics and a jar, you know, a great little box of a healthy stock, it's nice. You find out you're picking certain things for certain applications, right? And you're in tune with your body and how that works. And it's really cool when you're at that level where you can appreciate you have it, you know, but also work for it, and then help your patients in that same manner, not seem like a super nerd about it. They're like, oh yeah, that does make me feel good, or like that's a great morning during your day, you know, surf or whatever. It's like, boom, there you go.
I love it. Earl, what are you smoking, brother?
I'm smoking on the Chem D right now. I also wrote up some Nightmare OG to get a little gas.
That Nightmare OG is fucking fire, dog. That Nightmare OG is fucking fire. Dude, I've been smoking that. We smoked that first time when Mrs. Weedman and I on the show last episode, and I've been smoking that almost every day since. Fucking fire. Unbelievable, man. What flavor. What the high, though, man. Oh, just forget about it, dude. But I'm so
smell. Right when I smell it, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna fucking love this.
Oh, dude, phenomenal. I cannot wait to try that Chem D, because I've talked about Chem Dog before and how much I enjoy that and how much it works for my body. But I'm excited about trying the Chem D because it is more on the higher of the relaxing phase strain, so it's some kind of nice, but with that euphoric effect of the sativa of the plant. So I kind of like that. So I'm looking forward to it. I love being a little stony baloney euphoric at night when I'm laying in bed and I start seeing shit float around. It makes me smile. Closest thing I can get to DMT, I guess, is good fucking strong weed.
Well, and so finding like real chem cuts is also not an easy thing, even though it seems like nowadays everything's available if you search hard enough for it.
Sure.
I mean, I went through like 5 different sour diesel cuts that were all fake, you know, and I because I knew what it was, and after growing them out, that's like, it's like a year's worth of your life going down the tube, trying to look for the right cut, and it's still a problem, but if you know the right people, that's really what it's all about, is having the right circle.
Yeah. There you go, everybody. Right circle.
Yeah. I mean, that's really the most important thing in terms of, because genetics are, one of the first 3 top most important things in a successful grow. I mean,
100%. You're speaking our language.
So like it's, I mean, there's obviously a million other factors, but without that starting point, it's, that's why I started breeding, because I wanted to make fire shit. Like I don't want to grow shit.
Right. And this is not a breeding show, and I'd love to have you back on and talk about breeding. But tell us the one thing that a person that wants to breed at home by him or herself, or a human being or people want to do by themselves. Like what would be a tip like for the newbie breeder, like somebody that's just starting out? Give them a tip, trick, and a whip.
Well, kind of what I just said. Start with the right genetics. Have fire moms. And, not getting too much into breeding, like you said, the market's changing. Regular seeds aren't selling like they used to. Feminized is the thing, because you have you have these larger gardens that they don't want males. Why does a garden that's looking to grow 5,000 or 10,000 plants or even more want to deal with half of them being a male? I understand that now. I get it.
It's even the small grower like myself that has a tent for 2 or 3 plants. And I had this talk with Terp too, just saying, and he schooled me, and I said, I've planted plenty of regs and I get it, but there's a point where it's like I'm wasting more males than I am getting a female, and I feel bad wasting those males, because somebody could be using that to breed or get some pollen off of.
But who
Yeah,
now?
that's true.
Like, most breeders, like my year this year is going to be focused on fem seeds, and I've just released my 2 first lines of fem seeds.
Gotcha.
Only because I've been driven to do that. Right. I've been forced to do that.
From a market perspective.
Yeah.
I understand. Like I said, because me having only room for, I got to plant five beans to maybe hopefully get 2 females, maybe sometimes 1, and it's frustrating because you're now a month deep, and I understand Terp's old school, and I respect the fuck out of him on that and what he was saying, because I do enjoy growing regs, but it comes a point where I want to turn and burn every 90 days, 120 days. And I blew 4 plants and got 1. So I get the frustration with the people out in the world, the OG growers and the new school newbie growers that are growing out of their home to make their own medicine. Because I think everybody should be growing their own plant. If you're not, you're foolish. But I get it, man. It's just a hard. How do you feel about that whole situation? Between, you hear the OG growers talking about feminized seeds versus regs and stuff, and what people are doing. They're talking about you got so much herm maybe going on now, and that's the issue too, because a lot of these newbie growers don't know what a banana is unless you're listening to a grower reading some books. But not everybody knows what the hell is this penis growing out of my plant, this yellow looking penis.
Well, I mean, you can always test too. I mean, there are certain like laboratory stuff that you can cut corners if you really wanted to like kind of save some time on finding out if your plant was feminized or male.
Yeah, but that's not going to tell you whether or not it's going to intersex, and I see what you're saying. I mean, honestly, this is a debate that's been going on for a long time with breeders and growers, and some of the best breeders I follow and look up to, Ryan from Chimera Seeds being one specifically. He's a scientific breeder. He's done a lot of amazing things with lab testing, and created a new cannabinoid, CBDV.
I've heard of it.
A lot of kids with epilepsy. He's epic. But my point is, he brought up a point on a podcast that I was listening to a while back, and like a lot of people complain and say that, you know, feminized seeds tend to herm. It's kind of not really true, to be frank. Honestly, personally, I've had more intersexed herm seeds from regular seeds that I've popped in my life than I have feminized. But that's just my personal experience. Gotcha. Everyone has their own experience, and you know, it depends on what every breeder's different. So I mean, like, how do you trust a feminized line if you don't know who the breeder is? You know, I mean, you really got to get to know your breeder, and his work and grow his gear to trust him.
Right.
Or listen to someone else that's grown his gear and trusted him, you know? Otherwise you're just kind of shooting in the wind now. I mean, there's so many breeders now. It's unbelievable. Like
there's a store that just opened. There's a store selling seeds now in Illinois. I think it's in downtown Chicago.
Oh, that's happening all over the place.
This is the first one I've seen here in Illinois.
You're talking about a growth store?
Just a straight,
like a garden store?
No, not even a garden store. They opened up a straight, just selling seeds.
Really?
Yep.
Whoa, that's cool.
Yep,
that's really cool. I didn't. Yeah. Wow,
that's awesome. Everybody should be doing it.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Small little shop. I think it's dope as fuck. I can't wait to go visit it. I can't remember the name of it. I saw somebody post it, and I didn't save the post.
Yeah, I would love to hear about the name of that.
Yeah, it'd be dope, and especially if they're selling legit and they're working with legit breeders. Unbelievable, because it gives the option of people going now and talking to somebody live, not just trusting it, buying it off the internet. You know, that's what I like about it.
Know your farm.
I hope you see more and more come around like that and working with trusted breeders, and you can go there for tips and tricks on how to grow and what to do. I think it's amazing that what we're seeing now, that you're seeing a bean store, genetic store. Where you
that's really cool. That is really cool.
Yeah, that's dope. So, but I appreciate your opinion. I'm going to have you both back on the show. I think we've talked a little earlier about doing a roundtable discussion. This is going to be a good one with feminine Earl. That whole one question might talk 2 hours. So, all right, let's get this show started. Now I'm all stony baloney. All right, who is Magick Beans? Tell me about your story. I've got on your social media, checked you out. You got some phenomenal grow, phenomenal flower, beautiful terps, beautiful trichomes, just amazing what I've seen. Tell us what started you out. Like who the fuck are you, man?
Shit.
Who are you?
That's really that's hard.
You're still trying to find out.
Also give us your name. Give us your name and rank too.
Yeah.
My name's Nick Paletta. I started breeding. Okay. All right. Let me get into this. I'll start it from a certain point, in a pivotal point in my life. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and after college, I went to school, like I told you, in Columbia, or at Columbia College in Chicago. I studied music and ended up moving back to St. Louis and not really knowing where I was going. And I'm a big fish fan. So I had tickets to a show in Denver, 2011, and ended up camping next to a bunch of hippies that turned out to be a really crazy experience and night on, all the above. And I accidentally left. I had a ukulele and that I was playing, and I accidentally left it in their tent. And we had exchanged numbers, and so like they called me and they were like, "Hey man, we got your ukulele and it's in Oregon." And I was like, "Fuck." Like, all right. And they're like, "We'll ship it to you." And I was like, actually, I kind of want to come out there. Yeah. I was like, I kind of want to go out there. And so they're like, "Well, we have this huge cannabis farm in Sheridan, Oregon, and come hang out." And I was like, okay,
You built a tent. You just fucking built a tent right on the property.
I fucking drove out there, and I stayed with a buddy for a week, and he showed me around Portland, and I fell in love with Oregon. This was when Portland was badass. It's fucked up now. it's fucking shit show. I wouldn't even visit. But anyways,
I love Oregon myself too.
Oregon's amazing.
And I'm gonna make fun of Mrs. Weedman for a second. For years, I'm talking about I've been with Mrs. Weedman for 28 years, and she still says Oregon. I said, where to go?
My dad says Oregon, and it drives me insane. I'm like, dude, come on.
So now I have proof because I'm gonna make her listen to the show, and I'm gonna say, see, I'm not the only one that knows where it's at. I love Oregon. It's one of my favorite states. I love just the whole coast, and the weed out there is pretty fantastic. It's my first time I ever went in a dispensary, electric lettuce, when I went to Oregon. So I feel you, man, on this.
So I hooked up with these fish kids. I stayed at their farm for like 2 weeks. They showed me the ropes on, they had like hundreds of plants, and I had never seen anything like it before. This was 2011. And I became hooked and started growing. I moved there, obviously. Got a house, started growing in a basement, and just started learning and, growing. But I didn't start breeding for about a year and a half after that, so it was like maybe 2012-ish. And
so you got some time.
Yeah,
that's dope.
I didn't release any seeds for a long time. I started breeding because I kept buying packs of seeds from other breeders that turned out to be shit, and I would buy a pack of seeds that says sour diesel crossed to whatever, and there would be no sour diesel at all. And I knew, I was a connoisseur at like 16. Like I was going to shows and, seeing like, getting exposed to the real sour diesel, the real chem dog when it was coming out in the mid early 90s, but this was the mid 90s when I was getting it. And then the skunk, which is another story that I could just blow up for 3 hours.
Hold on 1 second. So you were in Oregon when?
2011 through 2019. I left during COVID.
So you were talking in the 90s, though. You were talking about some strains. Where were you getting those strains from?
I was really, really, really lucky. St. Louis, I grew up in kind of a like rich community, snooty, and there were kids with sour diesel, chem dog, like the real old school skunk.
That's dope.
Big Bud, Williams Wonder. I mean, shit that like is legendary, old school that would just come through, and it was like
where you'd wait for like hours as teenagers, and it would never show up, and you'd be okay with it, and then the next day, it's like $500 ounces. Like, six kids waiting for it, and we already have it divided out. It's like, this is the best stuff.
It was like
I've ever
Santa
seen.
was coming. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was. And the reason why I asked, because I remember in the 90s, I lived in West Palm, and when we got a good strain that came from the West Coast, we were just, I can't smoke anything else, because if not, you were smoking.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
right. And then,
that's what made us like pursue it more. It's because a baddie would get you through high school first 5 classes.
Right.
And you're like, oh, we can do another road trip. Awesome.
Totally. And then you had, I don't know, did you guys ever experience beasters? Like beasters? It would come down from Canada, from BC.
I never got a chance to. I got the best I ever got was some really good bud from Oregon, and we called it the O. And I don't even know the name of it. And it was, besides what we were growing in houses, was still nowhere near what you would get every once in a while from the West Coast.
Right.
And that's why I asked, because in the 90s, that's when I was really big down in Florida, so I knew where shit was coming from. But when you got something that was good, you didn't sell that, basically.
Well, so wait.
You kept it.
I never knew where mine was coming from. I knew if I was paying 60, it was going to be fire, and if I was paying 40, it wasn't going to be that good. And I usually paid 50.
Right.
That's all I really knew.
So go ahead, Beasters, BCs.
Yeah, Beasters. Like, so that, a lot of, that was just a product that just kind of came out that everyone thought looked good, but,
tasted like shit.
And like smoked like really bad. And it probably had chemicals in it all around.
Didn't get you high, really. It was. Yeah. It looked great, but it's just like,
So we got off track, and I'm sorry. I just had to ask that. Totally did. It's all right. That's what I love about doing a show like this. You never know where the fuck it's gonna go. But go ahead and go back to your story. So when you were back in learning and doing what you were doing, becoming a breeder.
Oh God, where am I going to go back to? So yeah, I was buying a bunch of seeds from breeders, figuring out I wasn't getting what I was looking for. So that's when I started to like really seek out the real cuts of what I wanted to work with. The real OG Kush. That's like my favorite shit of all time.
Kush, baby.
I've been searching, and I'm not going to go super off track here, but I've been searching for skunk since I had it in bud form in 2001. And even a lot of like the old timers think I'm crazy for saying I had it in 2001. It's something that I'm 100% positive I've had and was obsessed with since 1997 about. And it's, in my opinion, been gone since 2001, or maybe the year after, if it maybe faded off, slowly, whatever. But that is something that like was my favorite shit of all time back then. It's like people, there's skunky weed, and that's kind of why I love the OGs, the sour diesels, the chems. They're skunky in a way, but they don't smell like a skunk off the road. Like when you're driving in your car, and that's what skunk was. And I am personally my life-driven goal is to bring it back. And I don't care if it takes me 10 years. I've got a lot of
that's a passion project right there, baby.
Yeah, but
skunk works.
It's a lot of people over the last 10 years have said they had it, and I haven't seen it. So that's another topic. But yeah, so I basically, back to my story, I started breeding I started looking for cuts that I wanted to grow. And once I had a decent library set up, 10 or 12 clones, cuts, moms, that's when I started bringing in males and switching it up. And my goal was, and still to this day kind of is, but I have other things going on. My goal was to improve the mothers, because these mothers were like, some of them were 20 years old at the time. Now they're 30 years old. Like Triangle Kush, OG Kush, Chem D, Chem 91, Chem 4, all these, they were 20 plus years old. So like they've lost a lot of their genetic vigor, and their greatness. And I wanted to improve on them and release that in seed form. So people didn't have to seek out these special finicky clones that are hard to grow, take much more food to feed, and put them in seed form, and you can throw them in water and put them in soil, and you've got a better form of that. And that's kind of been my goal of the last 10 years. And
there you go.
I've gone, down different routes, introducing land races and other things, but that's kind of where I'm at. I think I answered your question. I don't know.
No,
it
was great.
Kind of went off on a tangent.
That Chem D is like, so I've never had the real cut. That's a seed. This is my first run of it. This is from seed, and it's just got this I can't compare it to the original one, but it's got like a true super chemically, you taste it in the back of your throat when you smell it. Like I don't know if you ever had chemical splash. It's like chemicals splashed on you when you smell the bag. It's wild.
So can I ask, who's the breeder? Or I don't even know.
CSI. It's an S1 from CSI.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he's legit. That's legit.
So it's just so fucking terpy and different. It'd be exciting to get the original Chem.
Sometimes S1s are better than the originals,
I just wanted to experience it. I got a lot of strains like that. I'm like, well, I've never had the original of this, so maybe I can experience. This is the best I can experience it.
Yeah, that's the closest you can get. Absolutely. I have. Yeah, that's awesome.
So what else you got? We got green fin soil conditioning. You got going on. You got any other ventures or anything going on with Magick Beans or Nick?
What are you asking me or him?
No,
yeah. Anything else going on besides Magick Beans or Greenfin? I know we're going to talk about Greenfin here in a second.
Right. Well, no, I mean, I have other projects going. I'm going to be focusing on recreating the skunk, and I mean literally from the ground up.
Yeah. You have any leads?
Huh?
You have any leads?
Oh yeah, I'm way ahead of. I'm ready to go.
Inspector Gadget over here, man.
I just need to
yeah.
I've done a lot of research over the years and studied all the top dogs, old school guys who've
it's worked out for me. I get a lot of awesome cuts.
Yeah,
I'll take all that shit. Yeah, sure.
But
don't worry about it. I got a spot in the corner.
That's why Earl and I are so close. No, I'm just kidding, Earl.
Right?
I get to try little things here and there every once in a while. I love it. And plus, I got to connect with somebody that grows fucking phenomenal weed. I grow decent weed. I'm a home grower. I grow decent weed. It's good weed. That's what I wanted to grow. Just good weed. Get you high. Get people high, like the taste and the smell. But when I step up and my friend comes into town, I get to smoke phenomenal weed. You see what I'm saying there, Jared? You got to connect there. It's great. Hold hands, give a little tickle, tickle, tickle. Make sure he's feeling good about himself, and you get whatever fuck you want.
I 100% agree with that.
So to answer your question, Earl, yes, we do have other things. So me aside, Magick Beans, yeah, I've got other projects. The skunk's going. I've got a shitload of strains I'm sitting in front of right now that I haven't even released.
What's that first stem line? Was it did I see the root beer GMO? Was that you? Right?
Yes. It's going to be my first feminized release. It's GMO. It's sour diesel to GMO root beer. I reversed the GMO root beer. A cut I got from a buddy of mine, Dreaded Herb Farmer on IG. He's fucking awesome. Follow him. Like, he's amazing. And then I've got my Captain Trips to the GMO root beer, which is going to be awesome too. But I have tons of other things coming out. But as far as other ventures, we do have other products that we're going to be releasing on the Greenfin line. So we're going to have seed sprout tea coming out soon. We're working on, we're in our infancy stage of all this. Like, we're working on logos right now. We're working on bottling, labeling. Yeah,
I do really like the Greenfin logo. I know you said it's in the infant stages of it though, but the Greenfin logo is class. It's just nice. It's very eye appealing. It gives a little trippy mushroom effect to it because of the waves and the way the fish looks. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
It's very, if you don't notice, look behind Nick and Jared in the corner right next to that dope ass keyboard and guitar. That logo right there is pretty sweet. It's just nice. It's very aesthetic appealing. I like it. It's nice to the eyes. I do. I know when I went on yesterday and friended you, Jared, on Greenfin, I was like, that's a fucking nice logo, man. It's a really nice logo.
And it's still in its rough stages. We're almost done. We actually should have it done tomorrow.
As any hustler or people that got a bunch of shit in the hopper, you just got to go with it. You can spend all day long tweaking, but when you're in it and to somebody else, your patients or somebody else are like, hey man, that's awesome.
Yeah, we wanted to get the product out there. So we're just like, fucking go.
If you don't have a side hustle in your life nowadays, you're going to fucking be doomed for failure. You got to have a couple, one or two or three. Yeah, you gotta have different income streams, and anything that taught anybody anything. I'm 50 now, so I've learned my lessons in life. But I think what taught people during COVID, especially the 20 and 30-year-olds, and knowing that, listen, I ain't gonna end up like my parents, broke and poor, and living on nothing. Realize that I can have my job, my just over broke job, and then have my side hustles where I'm going to make my real money and my play money and my retirement money and my fun money. And if you're not doing that out there in some way, some form, some shape, you're going to miss out. So that's just, listen to the two young gentlemen who I'm talking to right now. Side hustle. Hustle. Every day you're hustling.
Yeah.
I just got sucked into fucking trading stocks. And it's like every day I'm on my phone. I'm like, God damn it. I don't want to look at my phone 100 times a day, but I'm like, I gotta make money. I gotta live.
Man. Gotta have side hustles, man. I know people that have plenty of side hustles. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. And you have a few, and I love it. I love it, man. Breeding, growing, nutrient line. I mean, and more as it comes and evolves, man. I mean, if you fucking recreate that skunk train in the next 5 years, I want to come hang with you. Because you're gonna be a made man. You're gonna be walking around going, yeah. Motherfuckers, I got you.
Living large. He's in the mountains, disappeared,
Yeah. If I find that skunk, whoever finds the skunk is gonna be living large.
We got the skunk.
Yeah,
we got the skunk.
Yeah. Right. So should we go into Greenfin?
Yeah.
Who the fuck is Greenfin, Jared and Nick? You told us a little bit about how you guys met. Told us a little bit about breeding and Magick Beans. I love it. Talk to me about this Greenfin.
We're old friends.
Yeah, so we're, if you can't already tell by the gear on us right now, the Midwestern flair that we're representing. We were born and raised in St. Louis. We've known each other since high school, and we kind of went our ways, hanging out in between, and kind of coalesced the last couple of years back in St. Louis. My journey kind of started traditionally as like a finance and accountant. So I was doing like accounting, CFO work, like a lot of the traditional kind of cubicle life, which is fine. You know what I mean? Like I kind of got burnt out. I guess you'd call it quarter life crisis. I appreciate learning about taxes and like how things work from a business perspective, but I kind of didn't feel very valued. So what I liked in the world was ecosystems and farming applications. So I kind of moved on and discovered this technique called aquaponics. And so in 2015, when I was living in Boulder for a few years, kind of running some farm-to-table restaurant chains, I really got serious into it and found myself like, that hustle at night, just researching. Like, how can I do this? Like, this is awesome. You're telling me one pump can charge this whole thing and feed my family for 20 years. Like that's pretty cool. And, at that point, nothing really existed in a box that anybody could buy on a large scale. So I had the opportunity in 2017 to move back to St. Louis. My uncle had a horse barn. And so for about 2 years, I spent every day out on the farm building this facility where it's called Here We Grow. And basically it's a 5,000 square foot aquaponics facility. I have about 2,000 pounds of tilapia, blue and white tilapia that feed about 5,000 to 6,000 plugs of lettuce, romaine, basil, all brassicas. And the systems I use is deep water culture. So they're all suspended in rafts on top of this massive water system.
That's awesome, man.
Super cool. Like, I was
send me some pics, please.
I will. And, I was that silly hippie cousin that they were like, what the hell is he doing up there? And then, I coalesced into this, holy shit, it works. And then it coalesced and they'd be like, oh my God, the food's delicious. And then, all of a sudden it's like, wow, that shit really sells, like from a Greenfin standpoint. So what's cool to me and most people who like aquaponics and walk into our facility is the concept that you can live together in harmony with an ecological system, right? Like I went in on this saying, I'm going to be a farmer. I'm going to own this environment. I'm going to dominate this thing. And, humbly now that's dominating me. Like I don't do anything. Like it's telling me what to do. All of a sudden I have worms and snails and all these kind of ecological elements added to what I thought would be a very simplistic system. So over the years, we've kind of added to it, added filtration, added some ebb and flow, added some rock media. So we can do some really cool tomatoes. We can do some flowers. I really want to do like turmeric and ginger, all the kind of, Eastern types of Ayurvedic kind of herbs and stuff that part of our lines is we would love to do some IPM integrated pest management herbs integrated into the Greenfin line so that we could kind of fight the pesticides with the natural fertilizer element.
Love it.
That's just like we said, we're going to focus on our first line first, but we have a lot of possibilities that this system, a natural system that some accountant, built, that's like providing, in multitudes actually. And it's really like what I put into it, it puts out. And so it's really an accountability check too, which is really nice. You know what I mean? I kind of went into it thinking, you know, I'm going to do this, do that. And now I'm just humbly being like, please don't, you know, I'm pretty sure this is going to work, you know, but now it's just, you know, 6 years dialed in. It's cranking out some really good products.
Yeah. So, but awesome. I mean, like any business to start, it does take some time, and you got it down. Yeah. You got a one big living organism of a farm, right?
Yeah, it's constantly changing. You know, seasons change. It's just like cannabis plants. You know, when you're, you know, growing outdoor, you're looking for characteristics. You know, what I hope to be the future is that we can get to the point where we can identify the soil textures and certain types of nutrients to the flavor on top of good genetics. You know, it's like drinking wine in Bordeaux or Burgundy. They have that profile that, you know, if we can be attuned to the soil and what our environments are, we can actually deliver a product that's substantially either in taste or nutrients, right? Because it's just like lettuce, like the best nutrients in that lettuce is living and directly in your body. The same thing with the cannabis, like the less you fuck with it, the better it'll be for your body, right? So it's like these principles are all the same.
Living lettuce tastes a bazillion times better than just lettuce that was grown in Florida or something, you know, the soil that's been used and reused. And Big Earl and I just had this talk about it too, about how nutrients has been taken out of the soil for so many years on these big cornfields, and they have to saturate it with shitty who knows, you know, what they're putting in.
It's a big problem. It's a big problem. Soil regeneration, so, it's what we would like to extend ourselves into, because that's what cannabis farmers are doing. I mean, they're regenerating and conscious about their soil, but really everybody should, from your lawn to your ag to everything. You know, really.
I was just going to interject and say I totally agree with, you know, what you said on soil going bad, and it's a big problem. It's a global problem, and we think that greenfin could be somewhat of a solution if it was applied properly in the right amounts to dying soil. And, you know, there's also the idea of, you know, growing hemp on soil that's dying out. Mm-hmm. It regenerates it as well. So maybe even the combination would be, you know,
there's like
some sort of a solution. But I just wanted to say, like, I think that the greatest part about greenfin that differentiates us from what's going to become our competition is the system that he literally built with his hands. And it's it's true. It's true. It's a closed loop, decoupled system, but like it all comes back to creating and providing the ecosystem. Like the ecosystem is the most important part, because it's a like closed loop, and it's providing incredible amounts of all natural beneficial living bacteria that our competitors aren't necessarily doing. We're doing things different. Yeah, and that's what.
Is it all bacteria?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, that's the system that I described. So when it comes down to the green food products, and what we're launching first is essentially a byproduct of this aquaponics system. So when you think of aquaponics, and your audience might know, you know, there's a lot of different types of aquaponics. And even growers know hydros. There's a lot of options. Aeroponics, hydroponics, a lot. Aquaponics is essentially just, you know, the source of protein and how that input is. And for me, it's fish food. And I have a special blend. It's not proprietary or anything. I have a high protein diet, but also my system allows me to add worms and snails. So, you know, year one is different from year 5 or 6. So I have the benefit of now having worms and all this cool things that is probably the differentiator that was Nick was saying. Is definitely. Like when you add all these cool systems in it, it really becomes a compelling profile of nutrients and macro and micronutrients. So, but to your point, what makes this system whole work is bacteria. And they're actually beneficial, healthy bacteria that is organic chemistry that naturally breaks down ammonia from nitrates to nitrites. So like nitrites to nitrates. So that system occurs in my aquaponics all day long, 24/7. And it's my job as a farmer to culture that bacteria. That's it. It's really not the fish or anything like that. If most people know, when you buy a fish, you can't just put it in a new fish tank, right? It needs bacteria. It needs a rock bed. that same concept is in every system. And so when people say, oh, that's so cool, what do you do? Really, all I do is maintain that bacteria system. There's 2 different types that actually exist in my filters and around all the black mats in my deep water culture. And it's just really like, when you look at it in a microscope, it's teeming with life. And the second I know something's wrong, I will smell it, I can see it, we can test it. It's almost like your farm by smell and taste by the time you work so far on it. That's the kind of system we've kind of like developed. It's been like 5 years since I've had any kind of problem. But when I think of problems, I think of Florida. When you think of like the beaches and the anaerobic red tide is what they call it. That's kind of like the most pitfalls as an aquaponic farmer I need to watch out for. So as long as I have lots of water, lots of air flow, just like your cannabis facility in your basements or anything, it's the same elemental inputs. And it's making sure that all of this is in harmony. And so Greenfin is out there operating this system. And one of the byproducts that we have is a sludge material that we have to dilute. And that dilution solution is Greenfin bottled. And so after rigorous testing, what we found was that the micro and macronutrients were very compelling. And what was really interesting is after a few months of testing, what we did was interjecting certain oxygen and other elements to our farm that would actually boost it. And so we want to kind of draw lines for farmers to teach them what we're learning naturally by adding extra elements to that system. So it's basically more bacteria at different stages of the bacterial life, if that makes sense. It's really weird, dude. It's like, like I've never thought I was going to be a poo bacteria farmer. It's really like, I thought lettuce was cool, but it's like, no, dude, you're, not bad.
So with somebody like me and Mr. Weedman, how would we use your product? So if I run like a cocoa, or he waters usually organic soil, right? Is that what you're running now, Mr. Weedman?
Yeah, just organic soil.
Yep, I do organic soil as well. I'm not I apply. So I've had a long journey of fish poo, right? So I've clearly I've never over applied. Let's just put it that way. I will go home with a 5-gallon bucket.
This dude won't dilute it.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
Yeah,
it's fucking crazy. Like I'm like, dude, and we're suggesting what he doesn't dilute at 5 mils. Per gallon.
Insane.
And he's not diluting it at all. So I don't even know. Oh yeah, 5 mils per gallon is what we're suggesting in veg.
Right. I'm doing.
And he's going straight up 100%.
They love it.
I'm like, dude, and it's not burning.
So they're like, so what happens is like, so there's different applications, right? So for me, I've kind of dialed it in where I concentrate on my veg plants because I'm trying to get a little more yield because I'm only doing like 6 plants right now. So what I'll really try to do is pump up my vegetation growth by having a high canopy, feeding a lot of fish poo or my Greenfin product in the beginning stages, kind of dialing it back during flower. I haven't noticed a lot of the terpene kind of testimonials back and forth, but I do like adding towards the end stages, a little more diluted. So for me, I find a lot of my growth is in the vegetative state. And I also use it around my gardens and my rose bushes around my house. So I usually use that shit on everything. Like anything that's greener is putting that stuff on my stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So let me ask you a quick question. So if I'm using all organic soil and trying not to add any outside nutrients to it, but trying to go up just sizes and pots.
Yeah.
Would that be the only thing I need to add? If I got stuck at 7-gallon pots and I had this problem in the last grow. Okay. So I was using all organic soil, wasn't adding any nutrients to it, couldn't go up any pot sizes. So I had at the end there, start adding some nutrients. Would this be the only product I would need to add to organic soil? Would I need to go up in pot size, add more soil, and then add some more nutrients, or can I just straightly use yours?
Wait, sorry. Back up a little bit. What gallon size pots?
So I started at, your normal started solo cup, 1 gallon, 3 gallon, went to 7 gallon. But that's all I could fit in my tent. 2 7-gallon pots can fit.
And what kind of soil are you using?
I was using a mix, 30% cocoa perlite, and then 70% I was using Costa Maine mixed with a little Sohum together. And
water only Costa Maine.
Water only Costa Maine.
Okay.
So on the first time I used this method, I only went up to 3-gallon pots, not knowing that you had increased size if you weren't going to add nutrients. When I said water only, I thought it meant water only. So the first grow I did was kind of screwed it up. Learned better. Still got a yield out of it. Got some good weed. Could have done better. Did my next grow. Said, okay, talk to Earl. He goes, it's, you might have to add more soil, go up in pot size. Okay, so I went from solo 1, 3, 7. Can't fit any more room in there, but saw towards like that 4th or 5th week that it was lacking something. I wasn't getting the bud yield. I wasn't getting the size. It was still growing. It still grew tall as fuck, but I wasn't getting the buds I thought I would normally get.
No, Greenfin is not going to solve that solution.
Okay.
Only because it's an amendment.
Okay.
That is really important to know.
Okay.
It's a soil conditioner. It's not. It has nitrogen in it. It does have nutrient value. It does, in my opinion. But that's not food. That's not plant food.
Okay, perfect. So, but it's an additive to add to get better yield. So I'm going to have to still add my nutritional value too, but then this is a macro and micronutrient that's going to get me more bang for my buck on my plant size and my plant growth and my bud yield.
Absolutely.
Perfect. That's great. I love it.
So my comment for the fish poo is almost like that is like my water source because, it comes in almost a clear solution. We found that total dissolved solids isn't an indicator that it adds more or less value to the product.
Salts, right?
Salts
or solids? Total
dissolved solids. So like all those flakes you see in the bottles, it doesn't mean that you get more amendments or not. You know what I mean? So what happens is for me, I use it almost as a constant tea. So I like my soil to be a little liquid. So when I'm shocking my roots, I'll add some mycorrhizal other beneficial bacteria on top of what I use with my Greenfin product. It's almost like a soup. So I'm constantly, looking at the soil, making sure it's, healthy as far as a root structure where I'll put my fingers down there and see like, oh, are the roots white? Like I'm trying to your point of uptake, it's almost like making sure the soil's healthy so that all the microbacteria can help the mycorrhizae to open channels of the roots to uptake those fertilizers that you're putting in. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like, a stage production, one before the other. And so if your substrate, like you're saying, is fine, you don't necessarily have to do the first or second step every single time. You know what I mean? It's really like depends on genetics. Like some TK was super finicky for me. So I had to backtrack a little bit, add water and just hold off because some stuff it will fight me because I'm not I'm not an excellent grower. I don't claim to be. I've only been growing cannabis for about 5 years. I've grown more lettuce and normal, farming things. I could do that. But this is me coming from the other side, and it's an interesting discussion when growing in organic soil. How far do you want to take it? Because I'm thinking, you could add other nitrogen fixers. Some people are using mushroom spores. I mean, at the end of the day, this is like a probiotic for your stomach, just like your soil.
Oh, perfect. Okay. It makes sense now. Yeah, it's making sense. Okay.
Yeah, it's a super baseline for a starting point for something special.
All right. That makes sense. Okay. So if I get your additive, your amendments, I'm going to still do all organic, but I know now when I get to a certain stage of my veg, I'm going to have to start adding some nutrients, but then.
Yeah, you need the right amount of food.
Right. Yeah. Because I couldn't go up pot size. Now, if I could have went up to 20-gallon pot size, and probably would have been good. Probably wouldn't have had to worry so much. But since I can only go so big in pot sizes moving forward in all organic soil, it's not water.
And it also depends on what soil are you using, what companies. I know you said Sohum, but there's a lot. I'm going to backtrack here. There's other companies you can use.
Yeah,
There's other.
I learned about Costa Maine. I really like what I've used so far from them. They've been pretty good.
Build a Soil is, to me, top.
Say that one again. I didn't hear it. Sorry.
Build a Soil.
Build a Soil. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go organic, like, yeah.
We were just talking about them, weren't we, Mr. Weedman?
Yes, we were. So I'm gonna when I listen to this episode again.
Jeremy Silva is an amazing human,
awesome
and
company.
Like their company is top shelf.
Supports community, like, and that's the other thing about Greenfin is, like, you know, besides the product and the system, we really want to show that this is our life. Like, we live it, we use it, we're creating it, we humbly are learning. We want to share this knowledge to everybody too, right? So, you know, whether it's coming out to the farm, hanging out with us, or, you know, showing us different applications of this product. Because, you know, if you think about all the computations that we can add and subtract, it's infinite. And there's a lot of possibilities. We all need help in, like, the R&D and figuring out what works and doesn't for all kinds of products, especially the cannabis industry. So, you know, for us, it's great to be organic. It's great to be local. It's great to be, like, for us in Missouri, like, kind of representing, you know, a natural environment and restorative, regenerative systems that people can, like, support local, do this, and our plants are better. So, you know, for us, you know, we want to price accordingly. We want to be super price conscious. We all have struggled buying materials and fertilizers. Honestly, it's like, trust me, I've had the budgets and then the lower end, and, you know, what's going first, you know what I mean? And then, you know, if I had to pick one,
you want to be a good company that has a value, that adds value to your people that buy your product, your consumers that buy your product. You want to be a valued brand that's known for great product.
Well, even beyond that, we want to be known for being the best and cheaper than our competitors. I mean, it's that simple. I mean,
well, I mean, here's another thing. It's like the more I think from a very good answer, I think about this all the time, is like, I feel like the cannabis industry and the people in what we're talking and who your audience is the best, the most dedicated audience in the world. Like, that's our audience. I don't want to, like, you know, derive anywhere else. You know, once we get our homies and ourselves on board, then we can launch ourselves into a better product line, a better company with everyone's opinion. You know what I mean? So it's important for us to hear people's feedback and to know what we're doing so that we can continue this. Because, dude, all of these guys and girls in this industry that grow and hustle, we're not going away. This is like our time. There's so many great opportunities that we can all kind of, you know, jump on the bus, so to speak.
Of course, and not every state is even legal yet or medical yet. There's still a bunch still out there, and we're not even federally legal yet. Yeah, we can't. Yeah.
Now they're projecting like 10 years. They're projecting 10 years or so for federal legalization. So it's like, this could be a shit show for a while. A long while.
I mean, so we can't even cross state lines to sell weed, and we can't even go internationally to sell weed, which our friends from the north there are going to crush us on imports and exports. And then all these other countries, Germany is the largest importer of weed right now. We can't even sell. Think about how much we would save the West Coast with all that abundance of weed right now that they need to sell. They're fucked now because it's underwater. The whole state is underwater, but they could have sold that weed. They're sitting on a ton of it right now. And look at Canada. I mean, they destroyed 475 million grams of weed.
Jesus.
Couldn't you just give it away? I mean,
there's so much.
Already bottomed out. It's all right.
Sell it cheap.
Yeah, no,
Stock it high and watch it fly. Do something with it, man. It's a shame to just destroy it, you know. But this is how we are. We're so set back when other countries are now just going to pass us on to you know, where the traditional market is, what I like to call it, is still moving and still will always go forward, because the legal market will never be able to do what the traditional market can do.
Good point.
Yeah, the black market is still keeping it. It's still
Traditional market. Traditional market. That's all you know, brother. Traditional market. That's all we know. That's all we've been doing for 20 plus years. You know, if you've been in it for long or got out of it, got back in it now because it's legal. But traditional market is all we know, truly, in this country, because it's been so blackballed for so fucking long and so just chastised out of the world. That's all we know. We knew a friend that knew to get somebody that got some weed that was a home grower in his basement sometime and got some good weed, or we knew somebody on the West Coast that would ship a pound over here and there, or we got some Mexican regs that were brick weed, 25-pound brick weeds full of seeds, and they cracked when you fucking smoked it and blew up in your face. And
Like
but that's all we knew.
You know, the credit card on a shoebox, you know, all the seeds come down.
Yeah,
I remember
that
age.
You know,
yeah.
That's all we know. So fuck calling it the black market, the illicit market, the illegal market, because it's all we know. We fucking provided income for so many people in this country for so long that couldn't get a job and couldn't do this and was chastised. Right.
Remember what a Ziploc bag is?
Yeah.
Oh, no, bro.
I don't use them. I
don't even have weed in there. It's seeds, but people don't buy weed in Ziploc bags anymore. Yeah, there you go.
But like even a dime bag, you can't even like, you know, not to be like an old dude.
A dime? Did you say dime bag? You said dime bag.
Like that was like old.
Right.
Yeah, nobody even knows what the phrase dime bag means anymore.
Yeah, just pull out the window.
Yeah. Just, I mean, we're still that far behind though, and that's the thing that drives me fucking crazy. You know, you have so many great people out there that have been doing it for so long that it'll never get known, never get their name out there. Not even to be go in the legal market, but people that and folks out there that have been growing for so fucking long that will be forgotten about because of what's going on now. You know, the truly ones that created these strains. You know, the ones that brought them back, the history of cannabis can never be forgotten, you know, and that's what I talk about all the time. And what you, Jared and Nick have been doing, they've been growing. He's been growing and following weed for 20 plus years, you know, and now he's got a trade and just killing it. And then coming along with your beautiful fish, you know, green fin fish poop. I love it, you know, and just taking something to the next level. Big Earl and I were talking about aquaponics, on our show we recorded last week and yesterday too. We were talking about it on our practice podcast about aquaponics, and I only know a couple growers that use it on the commercial grow side here. One in Illinois, I think they're out of Arizona and California too. They pride themselves on doing aquaponics in their grow. And actually grow pretty good weed for corporate dispensary weed. It's actually probably one of the better ones here in Illinois. And but to be able to do that, I mean, it's pretty special. That how big is your facility again that you have?
Yeah, it's about the actual grow space is around 5,000 square feet. I think the facility is around 8 to 10,000. It was just like a horse barn, and so yeah, the products I could do probably around 1,000 pounds of lettuce every couple weeks if I really wanted to crank it out. You know, it's. I came into it not wanting to like, you know, sow the field, so to speak. I'd rather be indoor, working on culinary herbs. And, you know, I went that route, not to be like lazy, but, you know, it's hot out there during the days and the winters, but it's, you know, I basically put in natural, you know, waterfalls. It's a very, copacetic environment.
I just want to go get high and hang out in your facility.
Yeah, you would dig it. You would dig it. That's the
it's special for sure. And, you know, I just need more. I love the fact that people love it and get more input. So, you know, part of our Green Fin line is we're going to have meetups out there, some bands and stuff. We have a hotel facility next door that can sleep about 200 or 300 people. So
yeah, it's like a resort.
Yeah,
like it's fucking badass. It's called Cedar Creek for anyone that's watching. What's the website?
CedarCreekLodge.com, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, it's like a resort place where there's weddings and there's golf course and like super, you know, a lot of nature walks, and it's really badass. Lodging.
Yeah, it's in the middle of Missouri. You know, just for people's context, which is like the Ozark Mountains right off the Missouri River. So our soil is very like clay loamy, so we need a lot of remediation and revitalization. So what I've been doing is Three Sisters gardening and doing a lot of organic gardening out there. And you kind of have to work a couple years out there to like build up the soil, so to speak. actually a lot of my cannabis soil goes right back out there, and so nothing's wasted with us. So we always have some kind of hole in the ground, whether it's a dead fish or all of our soil. But that's the thing. It's like, we enjoy farming. We love inventing ourselves and reinventing ourselves, because like you were saying, man, the world's changing and you kind of have to be ahead of the curve and own your space a little bit. So we kind of love aquaponics for that, man. It's a very beautiful system.
Also, I just wanted to add, you asked about like how big the facility is. It's crazy. So because we get that question a lot. And the answer is it doesn't really matter. Because seriously, how many gallons is it? 25.
It's like a lot. It's like about 35,000 gallons of water.
Yeah, so like you're talking a
It's big.
It's big, but it's not like, so like you could do a lot with a little, is what I'm saying.
So yeah,
so 5,000 square feet, giving you an idea, is like not that big.
Right.
For the production. Yeah. Right. So the amount of
do you sell your lettuce and everything you grow? Do you sell it to like restaurants, or you sell it to farmers markets and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's for sure. And it matters, and it varies seasonally. Obviously, during the hot season, I'll switch it up. Winter is just my money market, because there's not a lot of competition. Obviously, I don't have like a ton of lettuce, but honestly, the lettuce prices, and as everyone knows, inflation is crazy right now. So what was half 2 years ago is now, obviously double. It's like crazy prices. It's almost like I'm ready to get back in the gear. But what we're looking at too is like kind of selling, introducing other animals. So prawns, crayfish. I'd love to do some bee hives inside the greenhouse. It's kind of a new concept I'm kind of designing. We're also thinking about doing some worm composting, kind of taking the restaurant waste that is across the street, and but having that leachate and that great black compost leachate kind of fall into our system and have it as a additive to the greenfin line. So we're constantly stacking other systems within our systems, which is kind of a really fun thing. When you think about it, I get to go to this like playhouse with all these green things, and I get to like tweaker with like fish and like cannabis plants. And I mean, it's like, the best. I don't know.
Can I just come and roll some joints and hang out with you? We'll get real
like the Amtrak. Come on down, dude.
I just want to come and hang out. And fucking smoke some weed with you guys and fucking just watch the fish swim.
We could do a podcast in the greenhouse.
Yeah.
That sounds great too.
Oh yeah. Also on the same property, there is a massive telescope. Is it digital? It's digital, isn't it?
There's two.
So there's two telescopes. One's digital, one's not. So like you can go in and look up at the stars and see like the craziest shit ever.
Hopefully, it's made to get high on.
Yeah. Well,
it's paradise. It really is awesome.
I think our wives, Bigger, I would love to take a trip down to I've never been to the Ozarks, so it'd be great. And we've talked about it going down there, so it'd be a fun trip, Big Girl. Are you dog friendly? Because we both have dogs.
Yeah, I've got my dog locked upstairs because she's crazy. Yeah, I'm major.
Love it.
Major
dog friendly. Will you ever think about taking that facility and maybe turning some of it into cannabis if you can get a license to do it?
I mean, that was always the issue. I mean, honestly, too, it's like when you're dealing with
Missouri sucks, man.
Well, I mean, I'm not. Listen, everybody breaks a little laws here and there, right? Like the fact is, too, like when you're dealing with Missouri is very old school in religion and how they treat cannabis, and when you go out, not just in the city. So, you have to be very careful where you're growing in certain areas in Missouri. And there's also a lot of growers in Missouri been doing it for a long time. I'm not saying there's no growers in Missouri, but, I had to be very cautious using the land I had, if that makes sense.
100%.
In a second, I do it. Yeah.
But do you think you possibly, like, when maybe this whole, in a few years, Missouri's starting to, let some more licenses out, starts loosening up a little bit. Every state goes through this. This is not just Missouri. Welcome to the fucking show. That's what you welcome to the fucking Rex show. That's what it is.
Yeah, but it sounds like
medical's nice and easy because it's just simple. Everyone's learned medical and it's pretty easy. No one fucking yells and makes a big stink about medical. It passes pretty decently and everyone's happy about it. And all of a sudden you want to go fucking wreck and the fucking cows and fucking skies falling. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make any sense. You make it more complicated than it needs to be. Follow some of the alcohol laws. You just put all these laws on it. Missouri. I've been reading. I've talked about Missouri a ton of times on the show through this whole process of Missouri going wreck. And every state that fucks up. Look at New York. It takes them a year just to talk about the law before they even come out with the law. Don't you think you should have the laws already written before you decide to go fucking? Why does it take you a year to open your state up rec? So go back. I went off on a tangent. I'm sorry. But going back, if laws loosen up a little bit though, and you can get a license, you might have something there to really get something really good. You know, you're doing something different. And I bet is there anybody in Missouri doing aquaponics? I'm not talking about weed wise. No, probably not.
Probably not. But here's my best answer to that, in my opinion. So, okay. So,
sorry to put you on the spot.
Really, this is really.
I'm just trying to help you out. I like you guys, and I think you're cool. So I want to fucking help you fucking grow some weed.
No, this is a hard one. So, because we are going to apply for 5 licenses. Micro licenses. Okay, do you know? You probably
craft
are
grow.
pretty
craft grow. Illinois they got the licenses were just given out.
You're probably pretty up to date. So it's like $1,500 or something per license, but it's all refund, or maybe $2,500, but it's refundable. So you get for once your money back.
Nice. If you're in Illinois.
Yeah, so you can apply for I think as many as you want, and if you don't get it, it's the same lottery system, but if you don't get it, you actually get refunded. So we're applying for, I think, 5 or 6, and we're going to see if any of them stick. And if they do, yes, maybe what you just described and talked about would apply to Greenfin and Magick Beans even, growing as a double brand.
That's dope.
But honestly, it's a crapshoot. There's going to be a lot of people applying for these licenses. They're only letting out a certain amount of them.
Well, at the end of the day, I'd love to build more out of these aquaponics for just different regions.
Yeah, I think we're more focused on expanding Greenfin than having a license in Missouri. It's just not really on our radar. If it happens, it happens. Cool. Like I said, we're applying for some, but it's not we're not banking on it,
Right. Yeah. I understand. I just think it'd be cool.
It would be fucking awesome. it would be ideal, but
you're also talking to people who also put in the work. They're like, man, that's a lot of fucking work.
I mean, dude,
yeah. We're approaching 40s, 50s.
Yeah, and I grew for a decade in Oregon, and in a basement, and I'm competing with other breeders that are, I'll even drop the name like Ethos. He's the biggest breeder out there, and he's probably making I don't even know how much a year. It's insane, and I'm the little guy, and it's fine, but I'm done trying to compete with literally the big dogs, I should say. Right. There's no reason why I should, because I'm never gonna
but you will gain your own following.
Well, no, and that's why I want, we're talking about craft licenses. I'm a craft breeder, really. I mean, I want the connoisseurs to come to me. I know connoisseurs aren't going to Ethos. I'm sorry, bro. They're not. They're trying to yield, and they're it's commercial grows, and I get it. And I'm not breeding for commercial growers. I'm not yet. I mean, I may have to, because of the way the market's going. I have to make feminized seeds now, and I never have had to do that before. Right. But my point is, you have to flow with the market. So yeah, if we could get a license, that would be amazing. But I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen. Well, we're more focused on building our brand, really, right now.
Nice.
Getting into stores and not even into stores, into people's hands, into gardens. Because everyone who we've talked to who's using our competitors' product has been like, oh yeah, yours is fucking amazing. It's better and it's cheaper. So we're riding on that right now as little guys in our infancy stage, you know.
I mean, do you see people watering heavy salts, like not really using organics? Do you see Greenfin helping them at all, like enhancing a flavor or anything?
100%.
Nice.
That's all I gotta say. Like,
yeah. I mean, obviously that would depend on your application of hydroponics, right? So I mentioned the dissolved solids. Like, as a company, I kind of don't like them. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, if I had part of our process of producing the product, we have an option to filter some of that out. So I will choose kind of not to, so that people, let's say, that have drip lines or that have other kind of, methods of distributing that, could have an easier time with other product lines that may think that's a novelty, to be like, oh, look, it's, there's a bunch of shit in there. Like, no, it doesn't matter. Like, from our testing, it really does not matter. It's really the nutrient dense, like, affluent liquid that you're applying it to. So yeah, I would say the application rates are probably a little less. But that also depends on, your dilution, if you're doing buckets and stuff. But we've definitely had samples go out to a bunch of hydro growers and self growers, for sure.
Yeah. They love them, yeah. Do they grow them in teas? Do they like brew them, or do they just add, 30 mils a gallon or whatever?
Really good question. We're discovering it's like almost like what you got style wise in your basement. When I discovered teas, I never stopped.
Fuck yeah, me neither. These are great. Let me ask you about my setup then, and see what you think about Greenfin in it. Is that cool?
On, they froze.
Oh, did they? I thought they were just waiting for my question.
No, they look pretty cute though in that picture there. Yeah. So, but go ahead, Earl. You were going to ask him what question? No, maybe talk about teas for a second. We're waiting for them to come back on.
Yeah, sure. So Greenfin, and hopefully I don't get this wrong for them. From what they're describing, is going to be the soil conditioner. You're going to add it to help break down that organic food. So like when you were talking about adding that organic food to your medium and all that stuff, to help break that down is what Greenfin's going to do. So why I asked them that question is because typically it's thought in high salt mediums that kind of biology, like bacterias, doesn't do a lot. But I could see with their application that they have organic broken down stuff in there that's going to be available to your plants. So even if you're not taking advantage of the bacteria, which you very well may be, I might be misspeaking here. But even if you're not taking advantage of the bacteria, you'd still be taking advantage of whatever else is broken down in there. So even in a salt setup, you would be getting this flavor. So brewing in a tea, you would just be trying to create more of the bacteria that they have. So they give you a bottle and it says, I don't know what their dosage is, but let's say it's 5 milliliters a gallon. Well, you put 5 milliliters in, you can dose that way down and do like a whole barrel, 55-gallon barrel, and brew it in a tea to really get the life and everything back up.
We're back.
Nice. Hopefully I didn't just destroy how it would be used in the tea.
I tell you what, I actually learned something. So he actually did a very good job filling in for a minute while you guys froze.
So tell him what you learned so I didn't mess it up.
Yeah, basically he was just explaining what the tea would do. So by adding it to it. So if you remember what you guys were on, what topic, where you were at in the point, let's go back to that conversation, because Big Earl did a great follow-up just to help some info go flow.
Is that brewing it in a tea or adding it directly, like in your reservoir or however you feed? Basically,
you're talking about brewing it or not?
Yes,
right. Okay.
And so that's like, when you get into nerdy stuff, you would take that as a base element and then you distribute based on your different elements of the garden. So some of my veggie plants, I'll add some other amendments. My flower tent, I'll definitely throw in some other mycorrhizae and some other like natural amendments. So tea's helpful as like a base element before you start getting nerdy with different sections of your grow too. So it really gives you the opportunity to kind of diversify your SOPs a little bit. But I'll actually trial stuff. So when I'm running flour, I'll actually not do fish poo for a couple of times and then add fish poo so that I know the difference. And I won't just do that with the fish product greenfin, but I'll also do it with other products. So it's a great thing to have as a baseline.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So I'll also say we did do some lab testing, multiple lab tests, and discovered after it was about a week of
2 or 3 weeks,
a week of brewing the greenfin, our levels were up a lot.
So what Nick was saying is like usually by activating and teeing your products when you're living in like living soils or anything living like our product, it's life in a bottle. What's happening is organic chemistry. So everything around you is happening, right? It's like decarboxylation of THC. So when you're hanging and drying your buds, there are stuff happening chemically. The same thing's happening in the greenfin bottle. It's actually why we have vents in our hood, because the gases are constantly releasing. So what we discovered was we can actually separate these batches in our system and throw some other air and elements and test them and see what the effect on the profile of the macro and micronutrients. When I say macro, I mean NPK. When I say micro, I mean, the boron, the calcium, the hardiness, that kind of stuff.
Manganese, molybdenum.
Yeah, and we're a well water system. So we actually, everything from our product is, my loss as far as aquaponics is all it is humidity. So when I'm putting water back in, it's not tapped, there's no fluoride, it's coming straight from the ground. So you'll see those characteristics in our micronutrients. So I do have a little hardiness, but not insane. So that means calcium. So there's definitely a lot of more earthy elements related to Missouri well water based on my previous, comment. But then the macronutrients change. And the more we bubble and tea and add algae, we'll have a product line that has 5 or 6x more nitrogen, non-available. Remember, we're saying we're an amendment, just to say that right quick, to the product that wasn't steeped in tea for 2 weeks. So, as a grower, you should know that you have options when you're using living materials that is constantly changing. And there's effects and causality to that. They're all beneficial, and you cannot kill your plants. But, most people come to me, what's the difference between an amendment and a fertilizer? And it's really like a fertilizer cannot be an amendment, but an amendment can be a fertilizer in some states, if that makes sense. Because, once you hit a fertilizer states, you're regulated by FDA. You have to have concentrated numbers, and any grower would want that, right? But when you set in the amendments, because it's living, there's really not like a dart you can throw at numbers. And that's the reason why they're always non-available nitrogen, because it's constantly living. It's always in a state of perpetual flux, so to speak. So, that's not to say that's great. Super geeky, but that's kind of where we're saying we can't really say that we're, on a fertilizer, but we do have available nitrogen. It's just constantly changing. We do our best to kind of capitalize and capture all those micronutrients.
So I think you did a very good job explaining that, because it made sense to my stony baloney self right now. So
that's awesome.
When you say the conditioner or can be the nutrient, do you mean as in it goes in and it can make, like, organically speaking, those types of nutrients break down and available to the plant at that point? So they're acting as a nutrient in that instance?
Yes. Yeah. It's like at the doorstep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like right when your mycorrhizae is triggering, the trigger between available and non-available is super thin, right? So like, but because they're not available, you can't burn, right? You're not going to harm anything, because the plant naturally
the plant doesn't take it up.
What it does exactly. So that's great, because there's so many great correlations with farming, right? They say like a healthy plant will have pesticides in it. You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't mess with most things, and it's because they have a robust,
it's their health system.
Ecosystem.
They're healthy,
right? And they're meant to be
healthy. Plants don't get bugs. I mean,
no,
that's just a fact. Like
a lot of plants have natural defense systems, like cannabis, natural defense systems, so they can get eaten.
A lot of people would say that's bullshit and like call me out, but like the truth is, like if you have like if everything's dialed in your garden with your plants, you're not getting bugs. I'm sorry.
Well, especially when you're outside and they can give those signals to other, predatory bugs and be more like natural. I can see, indoors sometimes you don't get the nature, but outdoors, if everything's healthy and happy and all your soil's nice, like you don't need to worry about the bad bugs.
They're going to something else. They're finding something else because bugs go to weak plants. They find the weakness in any plant. That's what they do. And I just don't see it in a perfectly healthy.
I love it.
See it.
Yeah, I mean, there's plants out there that keep bugs away. It's known. Lavender, lemongrass. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on and on.
Right, there's a ton. Yeah,
there's a ton.
It's funny. I have I do so. My greenhouse is kind of outdoors. It's indoors, but as far as my vegetables go, keep it outdoors as much as possible to be around the elements. And so 1 year I did really good. I didn't have any pests. I even dropped ladybugs. I really had the aphids under control. I was like, this is awesome. And a groundhog got in my system and ate only one type of lettuce out of the 3 lettuces. So it's like, you can only do what you can do until
your tax.
Yeah. So you're constantly fighting things and shit happens, I guess is my point. But
you plant flowers to get like predatory bugs and stuff in there?
Flowers? Ladybugs and wasps, and they're phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah.
Like those things work. I mean it works. But my season that time, the aphids, I had an aphid outbreak, and man, that is just something that is humbling, and it's out of control. You kind of have. Yeah, I mean, what's that?
It's so gross. The aphid. I've had like a tent of a bunch of little clones getting ready to go outside, and I get to it and it's just full of aphids, and it's like even getting the plants down to clean them or to cut them down or any of it. It's just like you're breathing in bugs and those fucking.
You just don't want to do it. As a farmer, you're like you just want to head in the soil and be like, come on, just go away. But you just can't, you know what I mean? Like you got to own your domain a little bit. And that's kind of what I learned. And most of us on this conversation, I mean, you can cut corners, but doing it right matters. And once you have that good foundation, it's easier, to take the next step. And people are like, oh, wow, you look like an expert. It's like, no, I just took the right steps to do it right with the right foundation. You're looking back 5 years later and like, wow, you got a lot of stuff on your belt,
What are some tips and tricks that you guys can teach our newbie growers, even people that have been growing for a while? Like what do you see those doing that are good? What do you see those doing bad?
Are you talking about just are growers or breeders?
Let's talk about breeding first.
Okay. I got some good ones. That I've learned from some legends, and I did not invent the wheel at all. At all. So, okay. I mean, obviously, like we talked about earlier, there's not going to be probably too many new breeders doing regular seeds. It's going to be mostly feminized because that's what the market wants. I have a really awesome tip on that. Okay, so after you pollinate a plant, usually, okay, so you're in 12/12 flower time, right? That's flower, Well, once you pollinate your mothers that you're going to make seeds for, you can flip the lights on back to 24/7. Or veg lights. So you can do 16 hours, 18 hours. I usually actually go to 18. But it'll cut your seed ripening time down by at least a week. So you're going to save time. I don't know if you'll necessarily save money, because of the extra, electric bill, 6 hours a day, but will save time for sure. And that's like one of the coolest things I've learned in a while.
And if anybody's done shucking of seeds, hard seeds are a must because it sucks, man. Like, oh boy.
Hand starts cramping up and fucking.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of not building my own seed distributor. I mean, it takes you an hour or two to do it.
PVC pipe.
Yeah, it's not a big. Well, yeah, even the PVC pipe. I wasn't even talking about that. That's like super easy. So like, yeah, I should be doing that instead of sitting here, all day long and then literally separating. Like the separating is the longer part, not the taking them out. But anyways, yeah, that would be like my biggest tip for like newer breeders. If they're doing, any sort of breeding at all, I think once the pollen hits the plant, usually you can go up back to veg time, and it cuts off a lot of time.
I've heard that from people before, other people talking about it.
Cool. Yeah, and
stay humble. That's all I gotta say. Get ready. I get excited. I feel like a lot of like tips, like people are growing for a reason, right? Whether it's saving money or an empowerment or a value, or it could be really, really fun, dude. Like I feel like most people I show, they get very excited. Like the energy turns, right? Like it's palpable. And I love showing people that, like when we talk and have garden conversations, it gets like, you can feel it. It's like a little intense because the passion's there. And so, if someone share, I love when people start growing, and it's not hard, and you just gotta stick with it and understand and be humble and not try to do the same mistakes time and time again. And it's like, don't cut corners, do it right, start small, and you will totally get results. That's it. I mean, it's like the plant knows more than most. Like listen to the plant, really.
Yeah, and if you're going on to like, instead of breeders, grower advice, my like two biggest things would be find verified genetics cuts. I shouldn't say genetics. Find verified cuts that you want, that you're searching for, and choose whether or not you want to grow salts or organics, because honestly, in my opinion, it doesn't fucking matter. Like you can grow fire either one. It doesn't matter. I think organics is a little bit more finicky. I think you got to like do a little more research. It's not reading a bottle and, dosing, teaspoons per gallons. It's not quite like that, but, and it's all subjective, man. It's, like, do you like organic food, or like, do you like dank ass, nasty, fucking unhealthy pizza that just tastes great? Like,
I'm in the middle. I'm in the moderation in my life. I like I eat healthy 5 days a week, and I eat like shit 2 days a week. I drink beer 2 days a week. I drink water 5 days a week. I smoke weed, but I smoke weed every day.
Every day. Yeah, I do too. So that's why it comes down to, it might be really more important on whether or not you want to go organic or salt. But really, that's secondary. Like, to me, it's what do you like to smoke? Find it and grow it. I don't care how you grow it, just fucking find it. And if you can't find it, find what you found, Earl, with the S1 ChemD.
Yeah.
Like, you found CSI S1 ChemD, and you grew it out, and it's probably the closest thing you'll ever find to ChemD, or better. Or maybe a little worse. Who cares? It's the closest to find.
For me, cuts just aren't like you gotta get them shipped. And you gotta hope it's real. Some people want like 1,000. They're, oh, it's the real this. It's $1,000. Like, fuck, bro. Like,
that's what I'm saying. So back to my point is, it's gotta be legit. It's gotta be real. Find something that's real that you love and you already know, as a grower, as a new grower. And secondary, I don't know, follow your favorite, who you think the best fucking grower you think is on Instagram, and talk to them.
Yeah, do your research.
do your due diligence and figure out what you want. I mean, that's what we've all done, really. I mean, you know.
The one thing I tell people all the time when they want to start growing, like, you're gonna get something. Unless you don't put the fucking light on and you let it fucking die because they ain't getting its fucking food.
Right.
You can't fuck it up.
It's not easy, but it's not hard.
Right. That's what I've always said. It's not easy, but it's not hard. You will get something. I fucking grew my first grow in fucking whatever, how long a period of time, and didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And I got 3 ounces off of fucking 3 plants. I was fucking happy in the pig and shit. It was a good weed. It was fucking solid. I got high off it. Mrs. Weed Man got high off it. Our friends got high off it. I gave fucking an ounce of it away, and it was fun.
It also depends, like, on, you know, your goals. Like, are you a head grower for a big cultivator, like that you're taking care of 150 lights or 500 lights, or are you growing in your basement with 3 lights? You know, like, I'm on the lower end. I know most people or growers are on the lower end who are probably listening to this and want to learn from it. Well, that means just think small. Don't think like you don't need to, you know, grow 1 million pounds out of a tent. You're not going to do that.
No,
it's just not going to happen.
I can't tell you. I'm not snobby, and I don't think I ever will be. But it wasn't too long ago that I was super excited to find a nugget under my car seat. You know what I mean? Like, that's fair. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't grow up with the opportunity to have this all the time, even though I do now. It's like, you know, everybody has their own joy. Yeah, dude. Like,
I love growing it, and I love giving it away. I grow so much now that I can't smoke it all. And I just tell people all the time. I had a friend of ours just said, "Hey, I'm broke right now. I got no money." I'm like, "Dude, I need some weed." I'm like, I'll give you a jar fucking full of weed. What do I owe you? Nothing. I don't sell weed anymore. I sell a brand, and I sell a lifestyle, and I sell weed freedom. That's what I sell now. I don't sell weed. You want edibles? I got 500 fucking edibles at my house right now. I fucking give you a fucking baggie full. I make edibles all the time. I got 3 pounds of butter in my fucking fridge. This is why I not only just because it's enjoyable and it's my zen, because I'm not doing it for money. I'm doing it for passion. I'm doing it for love of the plant. I'm doing it because I love fucking smoking weed too, but I also love giving it away. Just fucking throwing my nieces fucking when they were over here watching us do the podcast. They wanted to see what I get my fucking 21-year-old nieces. Both of them were over here. I'm like, have fucking jar, just take it home with you. Do whatever the fuck you want. I get fucking so much weed from people now too. I'm like, just fucking you want a jar here? I can't smoke it all. I smoke every day, but I don't smoke like from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. I just can't function that way. I smoke probably a fucking couple of joints a day, a bowl a day, fucking pop 2 edibles and shit. But that's what I do. But I have fucking like a pound of weed in my house that's not going to get smoked at all. You know, all of it by me. So I just fucking give it away, right? That's what we should do. If you're a home grower, and I say this all the time, I'm like, listen, if you're scared to grow, you don't want to get a med card, partner with somebody, invest with them, let them keep it up that house. If they got to go out of town for a week, make sure you watch their garden, you water their plants, you check their humidity, and then they come home, you're good. You split the bounty. He grows 10 ounces, you get 4 because it's in his house, and he keeps 6, and you do whatever the fuck you want with it. Dude,
I could never trust somebody else to do that.
Well,
if you're a home grower, in my basement,
somebody else to do that.
I mean, I'll tell you
I have, and they didn't fuck it up because I told them, I said, you fuck it up, you lose your bounty.
Yeah, Christmas is over.
Right. You fuck it up, you won't get weed from me for a year.
You won't believe in Santa Claus anymore.
Exactly. I'm like, no, dude. Like, shit. My whole Christmas present this year and last year were all just chronic to everybody.
Man.
I'm
not called Weed Man 420 for nothing. I've been bringing weed to people for fucking years, man. Years. I'm not even talking about the last 10. I'm talking about fucking since I was fucking 15. I've been getting weed away. All right. I've been smoking weed since I was 13. All right. So, I mean, I've seen it. My dad was 3 years old, man. I've been seeing weed. I know what it looks like. I know what it smells like. It's in my system. What I'm telling you is if you're a home grower and you got pounds of weed and you ain't giving it to your friends and family and people you're an asshole because you can't smoke it all. I give it away. I walk around with a red fucking cooler filled with 500-600 edibles in it and I just give them to people. I go to parties. Here's fucking, just don't overconsume. Start low and go slow. But I don't give a fuck. It's just weed, man.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Before we wrap this up, because it's getting late here. I got a question because I didn't know you were older than me, and this means a lot. And you're talking about
I'm
you're talking about
50, man. 50.
I know you're talking like Midwest shit. So have you? Because a lot of people when I ask them this say, oh yeah, but whatever. Like I know they're full of shit, but I think you're not going to be. Have you had real skunk? Like the real old school skunk?
Unless it came through Florida, because I grew up in West Palm Beach. And you know what? I mean, I smoked a lot of weed. I smoked a lot of shit weed. You know, whatever we can get at the time. You were fucking buying it from your buddy who bought it from a fucking street guy, and it was fucking whatever it was. But when I started,
you would have already said yes. You would have already said yes.
Bring that back.
I haven't, but I've smoked a lot of good weed, and I don't know if it was true. I mean, I've smoked. Here's what I have smoked though. Back in the early 90s and late 80s. I mean, I was smoking, we were smoking people that were growing in their fucking pool houses in Florida. We'd get some every once in a while, you know, and I don't know what it was. The one thing that I do know
was around back then.
The one thing that I do know that I smoked that made it in high times, this was back in 93, 94, 95. It was called the Dr. Who's. And my buddy who I partnered up with was the grower. And I used to run his shit from the Keys to West Palm. Okay. And he created this strain. It was called the Dr. Who's and was the best I had smoked at that time. So that was probably, I don't know. So that was the strain that he created. So
you know what
called the Dr. Who's. Huh?
Do you know what the parents were?
No, I don't. I remember the guy though. His name was J Ball and his partner was 8 Ball. And then they had Q Ball. Those were the 3 guys that grew.
Great show.
It's actually so crazy that you mentioned that because Happy Daddy Products, I believe, is the last word. Happy Daddy is so Odie Diesel, if he ever watches this, sorry if I don't butcher this, he created Doctor Who, I believe.
Okay.
A new Doctor Who, not back then.
Okay.
This is new. This is like 7 or 8 years ago, maybe even more. But Odie Diesel was out of Oregon, and I believe his son is doing a lot of the breeding now. If I'm not mistaken, I could be totally butchering the story, and I'm sorry if I am, but I don't think I am. But yeah, so that's interesting because Doctor Who's like super popular right now, but it's a different Doctor Who,
new
so
generation, new era. Yeah,
I'm super. Yeah, everything's. Yeah, back then was like awesome because we had I feel like it was the era of the best like cannabis strains.
Well, these guys were growing in soil, but they were also growing. I didn't even know what the fuck this was, but until they taught me, they were growing hydro. This is the first hydro strain. They were growing in big troughs of water, fucking filtration systems. Like, dude, what the fuck?
And this is the Doctor Who you're talking about?
Yeah, they grew it in soil and they grew it in hydroponics too. This is in Isla Mirada, Florida. So this is going back 94. Like
so
when
back. So if you were in Florida in the 90s, did you ever get Triangle Kush?
No.
Or okay, any of the OGs?
Nope. I wish. Like I said, I did smoke some stuff that would come from Oregon. We called it the Ode Bud. We didn't know the name of it, but it was the highest I'd ever been at that time in my life. And this is 96 when I smoked that shit. And we were still running fucking Doctor Who's and shit like that. But that was like different, dude. This was like no shit I'd never seen before. This shit was like fucking crystally as fuck. I mean, I'd never seen Bud like no shit like this before. This was like, whoa.
Like the first time you saw Kind Bud?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Like when you smoke the first time I had Chronic, people were like, oh, this is the real Chronic from California. I'm like, well, it fucking smells like fucking weed. It gets me high. So I mean, but this is like
right. But it wasn't bricked up swag brick weed.
No. That shit was fucking. I mean, I'll tell you off record on that. We'll talk after the show. But I mean, when you're running 500 pounds of black hash from Jamaica, from Key West to West Palm, and it's going all over the fucking place. I'm talking 25. I'm talking about 25-pound balls, blackness, tar. Shit that you had, and back then you had no apparatuses to smoke out of. How we smoked out of it was a little fucking avocado, fucking little artichoke fucking can. You put a nail through the bottom of it, right? You put the hash on there. You take the jar. You put a match in there. You put it. You light the match, the wood match, and it lights it up, and you go. That's how I smoked my hash, motherfuckers.
Oh my God,
that is a great lesson.
Yeah.
If you don't have nothing to smoke out of, my camera got all fucked up. I got all excited with my hands. But if you don't have anything to smoke out of with hash, don't put it on a fucking grill, on a fucking knife, you idiots. There's different ways to fucking think of how to smoke. That is the worst way to smoke hash. You're burning that fucking shit up. Learn how to fucking smoke. So we'll end the show on that. You guys got anything else to say?
Perfect note to end on.
You guys got anything else to say?
No, we just gotta have you out to the farm, guys. I mean,
come on out. Sure.
It's on us. A little weekend getaway. Get to in the greenhouse. Maybe
there's places to sleep.
Plug it, website it. Give us all your info. Give yourself some plugs. Go ahead, tell everybody.
We'll do the telescope.
Yeah,
we get high as fuck.
We can eat some shrooms and fucking.
Anyway, there's gonna be some people on the moon, so maybe we can check them out.
So do me a favor. Give me your Instagrams and your handles.
Okay. I am at Magick with a Magick.Beans.seeds.
At Greenfin Amendments.
Sweet. Big Earl,
thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Yeah, this was awesome.
You popped our bubble too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We appreciate
this is our first. This is our virgin podcast, and I didn't even know. Like, I've been talking to you, but I didn't realize you were local until today. That's hilarious. I mean, you're local-ish.
I was in actually St. Louis, but we didn't get to link up. But yeah, I was out of Springfield, so kind of for sure.
Anytime you're here, hit me up, and we'll hang.
Hell yeah, love it, friends. Man.
And maybe we can do an in-person podcast too sometime.
Yeah, sure. I really would love to get you guys on the round table we want to do, so we definitely could do that. So
we're in.
And the aeroponics episode when we get to that.
Oh yeah, I would love to do that.
Definitely.
We'll talk about that too.
Fuck yeah.
So we appreciate you guys being on the show. Big Earl, you got anything else to say?
Yeah, guys, don't forget to add that CalMag.
Don't forget the CalMag, everybody. Peace.
Nobody should.